Hello, welcome to the replay of the Sunday support sessions offered by the Alliance for Massage Therapy Education. The webinar you're about to see is with Don Hogue from CompTA and with Debra Persinger from the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards. It is our great pleasure to bring you this webinar. My name is Jody Scholes. I'm a board member with the Alliance for Massage Therapy Education, where it's our mission to have high quality education in every massage therapy classroom. Yes, we are committed to excellence in education, and we know you are too. Many of you are already members, but if you're not, I'd like to invite you to consider joining us as a member. For now, please enjoy the webinar. I want to let you know that the recording began about 5 minutes into the session, and so the transition is a little bumpy, but you haven't missed anything. So we are about to join Dawn Hogue as she's talking about compliance and accreditation. Enjoy.
This conference will now be recorded. Oh, sorry. We're now being recorded. But we want to be able to provide direct feedback to you and guidance. So please feel free to reach out to me. If my information is not on a slide as we end here, you can get it through the chat box. Jody has my email information. I'd be happy to talk to any one of you and again, answer questions you have, specific situations you're concerned about, share best practices with you. And I use that phrase lightly, meaning what are the practices that we're seeing most of our schools utilize at this time? And what are some things to consider when you are changing your delivery method or your schedule accommodations? Those are the two big issues coming to the forefront. So however we can be a support and resource, not only to our schools, but all schools in the community, that's what we're here to do. So on the next slide, you'll see a few resources. I'm sure you have, the CDC. I hope you all have the websites and information for the AMTA, the Alliance, AFMTE, CompTA, the Federation, ABMP. All of our professional associations can be excellent resources to you. But I also provided a link to the Department of Education and a page specifically related to coronavirus. Lots of information is quickly being updated on this page for the Department of Education. Yeah, back to slide number 2, please. Thank you very much. Also, this publication called Inside Higher Ed, I'm on their mailing list, and so I always see great headlines and really valuable articles. I wish I had time to read them all, but if you all don't know about Inside Higher Ed as a publication, maybe note that down, or again, you can look for these slides after the presentation, but I think you'll find some very interesting and valuable resources from them as well. Same with CHIA, the Council for Higher Education and Accreditation. Now they, as their name implies, they definitely have a lot of resources for accreditors, but for higher education in general, for schools, whether or not you are accredited, whether or not you utilize financial aid, CHIA is another great resource for you if you're not already aware of them. For schools that do utilize federal financial aid, I will say that in many of the recent webinars and presentations that I've listened to and attended from the Department of Education, a lot of it is around funding and the CARES Act and funding that's available for student borrowers and for schools. So there might be some information on the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund page. If you're not already familiar with that, and again, you are a school that offers federal financial aid, I would highly encourage you to look into the resources that are available, both for your students and for your schools. On the next slide, I guess these I would consider maybe just some of my musings, and I just love this image, massage is for all ages, right? And I think this image is a good segue into what will be my next slide. You'll see in the topic around that, but we just had our our spring commission meeting, and while I shared with our commissioners a lot of the activity that I just shared about what we have done, a large part of our conversation and discussion was about now what, what what lies ahead, and I think we all can share, that it's unknown. I wish I had more specific details and guidance that I could offer, but it really is a bit of still a wait and see mode that we're in. And I think the question that I'm hearing a lot is how long? How long can we Zoom? How long can this go on? Yes, we're finding effective ways to instruct virtually and do the best we can, but at some point, we have to get back into the classroom. And what is that going to look like? How can we do hands-on practice? When are we going to be able to resume that, and where? And what is that going to look like? I think, as you said, Virginia, at the outset, every state is so different in terms of their stay-at-home orders and what governors and state regulations are allowing businesses and industries to do. That really plays a large part in a wide range of options or very limited options for some of us. And again, other bodies that we're accountable to with our state boards and our accrediting agencies. It's ironic for me from an accrediting agency perspective to say, I feel like we've been maybe the easier one to comply with compared to what I hear in regards to some of the state level of regulation that's in place. So as of right now, the Department of Education has given allowance for these accommodations for virtual classrooms, distance education to go through June 1st. And I keep really looking out in my email box, looking out for communications about any adjustments to that timeline. And I will certainly notify all of our schools, as well as, as much of the professional community as I can, if I hear any changes to that date, that timeline. Gives us the rest of the month of May, which again, I think is going to be pretty crucial in terms of seeing some things shift with how we can go back to work if possible. But right now, June 1st is a pretty, important timeline there. So to the next slide, taking that image of the children, it really is kind of this, well, I'd invite everyone, let me put it that way. I would invite us all, and I include myself and CompTIA in this boat, to really ask ourselves, well, what if? What if? And, ironically enough, I've been watching probably too much news these days. And I saw a little bit of the governor of New York in his press conference today. And actually, he was saying something very similar. He was saying, we're going to have to reimagine what our businesses look like and how we function. And, that's kind of where I was in my thinking with, we're going to have to, I think, rethink everything, if not a lot of things, about how our schools are operating, how our cohorts matriculate through, their schedules, how many students are in class at a time, and again, maybe, a short-term, mid-term, long-term type approach to how we get back to business. I don't want to say as usual, but with a new status, a new way of operating. So strategic planning, again, I use loosely. I don't mean that in the formal sense of, outcomes, action items, but thinking and planning strategically, and staying open, asking that question, well, what if we did it this way? What if we did it that way? In terms of our schedules, as an administrator, I really think of those infrastructure pieces, right? And what does that schedule look like? And who's going to teach what? And how many students are going to be on campus? Could we possibly have our cohort split into two, and half of them on campus for some days a week and the other half on campus for other days a week, so that we have minimal numbers and social distance guidelines? What does our process look like for admissions? Can we do virtual interviews with students when they used to be in person? Can we have, DocuSign utilized for electronic documentation rather than all that we used to do in person on paper? What do our policies for attendance look like? Do they still serve us? Should we consider the practice of distance education on a permanent basis to some degree in our programs? Are we finding this to be a valuable aspect of our programs? Do students who have challenges with learning or attention, challenges being in a traditional classroom, are there ways that maybe they benefit better from a virtual learning or online learning experience? And should we consider, like I said, maybe a more permanent aspect of our instruction to be via distance ed? How do we do our assessments? You know, is there a way that we can streamline and simplify our process and really focus on competencies? These are all of the what ifs to ask ourselves and to reimagine how we do what we do. My last slide before I turn it over to Debra and then open it up for questions is, you know, I feel a lot of reassurance when I hear the message, we will get through this. We will get through this. You know, I mean, I feel often very inundated with the numbers and the metrics and the, you know, certainly the sad loss of lives. You know, the reality of that is very stark and hard to process. And so, like I said, I find a lot of comfort myself personally and professionally when I really hold those messages and affirmations that we will get through this and we're all in this together. And so for today, I just wanted to kind of shift that and say, we are getting through this. Here we are. Like you said, Virginia, 6 weeks ago was the first Sunday session, and I was so happy to be a part of that one as well. And you know, 6 weeks have warped. It feels like 6 months, you know, sometimes. And so I just have to remind myself and for all of you too, that we are getting through this. We will continue to, and we are. And I know we are all doing our very best. And so in order to keep our schools and our programs running, you know, I think it's important. I don't think any of this on this slide is new to anyone, but again, if it brings comfort, maybe to help affirm what you're already doing, prioritizing, you know, what is immediate priority, graduations that are coming up, new cohorts that are supposed to start, students that are, you know, matriculating, faculty that are struggling, you know, how do we prioritize, but needing to do that. Staying connected with our own community and with the community at large, attending these webinars, being on the Facebook page, the EdNet, you know, groups, all of that to stay connected and get support and information and share, you know, process together, communicate with each other, with our boards, with our agencies, give and receive support, ask for help. I was so touched by someone who shared a story recently about how they asked their faculty, you know, if they would be willing to make, you know, a pretty big sacrifice temporarily time, and then, you know, there would be the opportunity for things to shift around, and you know what it meant for that person to hear their faculty without reservation say yes. No, yes, you don't even have to ask, but sometimes we do have to ask, right? And then offer, right? The ask and the offer go hand in hand. So offer support, offer help, offer what you can to your community and to all of us. And those to me are sort of what I'm trying to fuel myself with as well. And so I guess that really kind of ends me where I started, which is my offer to all of you to be a support, be a resource, give feedback and guidance however I can to you. And again, thank you all so much for your time and attention today. Debra, it's my delight to pass the baton to you. And again, thanks everybody. I'll be here for questions as we carry on.
Before we jump into Debra's presentation, I wanted to just say, well, number one, say thank you, Dawn, and ask, we have just a couple of minutes available for questions. I didn't see any questions in the chat box. I wanted to remind all of our attendees that we have a chat box, that if you're on your computer or you're on your iPad, that little balloon
right next to the gear box, the gears, is if you click it, that will open the chat, and you can make comments, you can ask questions in there, and we would really enjoy your feedback. And just you'll see that you can direct your comments to everyone, and that way we can all see them. So thanks again, Dawn. Any questions that anybody has for Dawn?
Hi, Jody.
Hi.
Or for Dawn. Hi, my name. Can you hear me? This is Sonora Bird Hodges. My camera is not working, so sorry you can't see me. I was planning on starting a new massage school in the fall in Michigan, and was about to put a down payment on a building and start advertising. And this will still work out for the fall, or I would just like someone's opinion on whether I should wait a year or not.
Well, this is Dawn. Thank you for your question. Thank you for joining us. Gosh, that's a big question. And the should. I bet as I see all the faces that are on the call, I bet they would also have a lot of valuable input to offer into your question. I think it depends. That famous answer, it depends. Do you have time to do you have the time and resources? And you don't have to answer this right now, but these are the questions I would ask myself. Do you have the time and the resources to ensure that you get all the equipment that you need, to have the staffing that you need, to be able to, have a effective recruitment process? Do you have your state approval? Is the board available to still function in that way and provide those approvals for your program to launch? I think our schools that have been anchored in business for many years, decades, are, trepidatious about what the fall is going to look like. And so given that, I might proceed with caution would be my suggestion. But as I said, I think a lot of other people on the call might have some other input to add to that.
And as much as I would love to make this a forum about business and marketing, right now we're going to transition to our second presenter. So feel free to put your comments, your questions again in the chat. And I'll remind everyone that this would be a good time to go ahead and either mute yourself, mute your computer. That sounds funny, mute yourself. Mute your computer or your phone, because our next presentation is about to begin. And that's going to be done by another woman who needs no introduction, and that would be Debra Persinger, the Executive Director of the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards. The FSMTB is a not-for-profit organization that supports your state's massage therapy board in doing their work to ensure that massage therapy is delivered to the public with safety and also effectively. One of the ways that Debra and the team at FSMTB keeps us safe is they are directly involved in decreasing human trafficking. And this is something that is just, I didn't really appreciate how involved the Federation was in this, but literally hundreds of women have found their freedom from modern day slavery, basically, at illegal massage businesses because of the quiet work that the Federation is doing. Of course, we know that FSMTB, for producing the entry-level licensure exam, the MBLEX. And Debra earned, just a little bit about Debra herself, she earned her PhD from Kansas State University, and she is a Kiwi. She's actually originally from New Zealand. Debra is here today to look at her crystal ball and give us her best forecast for when the test would resume. She's also offering up-to-date information and insights about how the Federation is monitoring the situation. So welcome, Debra Persinger.
Thank you, Jody. It's certainly not my intention to be Debbie Downer today and talk about human trafficking. But I'll see if I can figure this out, this screen share. Prepared some information. For those of you not familiar, I just wanted to share a little bit of a background with you about the Federation and some of the things that we do beyond or in addition to the MLEX. So our members, as Jody said, are the state licensing boards and agencies. We have 46 members, and the people that serve, the massage therapists and public members that serve on the state licensing boards are our associate members. Whoop. Uh-oh, it just asked me if I want to leave the meeting. So this is clearly not going well because I can't advance the slides.
You can decline leaving the meeting.
Don't leave the meeting. Use your arrow keys on your keyboard. The right arrow will take you to the next slide. Maybe.
And it's not. I wonder if I'm frozen. Okay, I'm going to unshare here. And okay, so our members, I had a visual for you, but we have all of the states in the United States except the 4 regulated states, Kansas, Wyoming, Minnesota, and Vermont. But what the Federation does is we problem solve on the big ticket items. I mean, if that's what associations do. If we wanted to solve something really quickly, we'd just start up a GoFundMe page, I would say. Some of the, am I still in the meeting? No.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you're still here.
Sorry.
We can see you.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Really
My
quiet.
screen went blank and I thought I got kicked out. So some of the things that may be of interest to the educational community, we have, we're just in the process of launching a continuing education registry. So that's a registry for CE providers who meet the standards that have been developed by the state regulatory boards. That will allow you to have access through the Federation's website to an online course search that's a national one. So if a therapist is looking for a course in Alaska on Saturday that's at the Holiday Inn or something like that, they will be able to use that online course search. So it'll give you national exposure through the CE registry. The other nice thing that the state boards have designed for the CE registry, for those who opt to participate, it's not mandatory, but those who do, when you upload your class rosters, those students that have completed your classes will go automatically to the state licensing boards through the massage therapy licensing database. So we also have a regulatory education and competence hub that we've been working on. The acronym for that is REACH. And that's where the Federation publishes our continuing education. So for example, when states discipline somebody and they need them to take a course on, you know, client intake or communication, if that's where their issue has been happening, they can send them to their the competence hub, and then the licensee would take that class and then the state board issues the license or something like that. We also have optional classes for people that pertain to regulatory education. There's a few up there now on diversity and cultural competence that a lot of people have been enjoying while they're not able to be in practice. We have right now we're doing legislative tracking. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant with all these governor's orders coming out from all across the country, and then there's an amendment to the order and then an amendment to the amendment and 29 pages explaining the amendment. So we're very busy with the legislative tracking, obviously communicating with our members, and then we have each year we do a massage board executive summit for all the executive directors. This year we had to cancel it because of the pandemic, but we've last week, for example, we just had a virtual town hall for all the executive directors to get together and share their experience with what's going on across the country. I'm sorry, I'm clicking through here, even though you can't see it. So detecting and preventing fraud is still something that's going on at the Federation, if you're wondering what the heck are we doing over here or in Kansas City. The education and misrepresentation still goes on. These people are quite opportunistic and think that while no one's looking, they can maybe get away with things. But so we're still heavily involved in verifying, validating transcripts. You know, people take this opportunity to maybe tell you, or sorry, to tell us that they went to a particular school, maybe you're one, and then of course we dive a little deeper and find out they didn't go there at all, but they're trying to get into the MBLEX through fraudulent means. Why am I sharing that? It's just a big money business, and unfortunately all these imposters are trying to get into your profession even as we speak. Last year we invalidated about 466 MBLEX results. So I don't know if you think that's a big number or a small number, but each one of those represents, you know, of course, due process and a lot of legal involvement, because we don't take it lightly when we have to invalidate somebody's MBLEX results. But that, I think that's quite a significant number of people fraudulently trying to come into your profession. And of course, it's not just the Federation doing this. We work closely with our test partner, Pearson VUE, and the primarily the FBI, or the state jurisdictional bureaus of investigation. So in terms of the COVID-19 update, which is what you're really here to find out about, on our website, fsmtb.org, we have a page dedicated where people can link directly to the state licensing board, as well as another link. Most states have 2 links to what each state is doing or announcing in relation to the COVID-19 response. We have been or are involved with the regulatory boards of other professions, and also those publishing tests. At the moment, it's kind of, I feel like it's kind of like the Hunger Games, where we're all vying for our or advocating for our own people. So for example, testing has shut down right now, at least through Pearson VUE and across the country. There's nobody taking the MBLEX right now. But you know, the GMAT people, they need to test 100,000 people before the end of summer, so they can, the medical schools can make their decisions. So just to give you an idea of the volume of people that once testing does open up, that will be trying to get through the system. So in terms of MBLEX in particular, the massage and bodywork licensing exam, testing is currently suspended. Pearson VUE evaluates this on a daily basis with us. We're in constant touch with them, sometimes multiple times in the same day. Right now they're looking, it was pushed out to the middle of May, and now they're looking to push it out to June. So anybody who's already in the system and authorized to test will be able to reschedule. They'll have to reschedule sometime after May. So what the Federation has done, or is doing, is extending the window for testing through the end of the year. So I know we're sitting here in April thinking, oh my gosh, December, that's so far away. But we did that to accommodate the volume of people who will be trying to get into test, because even once testing does open, they will have to honor physical distancing. If a test center could accommodate 20 people, now they may only take 10 at a time, things like that, 1 person in the waiting room at a time. And so remember, all these other professions are also trying to come through the system. So we did not want our massage therapy candidates to be pressured or stressed. Even when legally they can show up to the test center to take their test, we didn't want them to be forced to have to do that in a very finite window. So if they prefer to still not go out into public places, they'll have through the end of the year. So that will be for those applying through September 30th. And then also in addition to that, somebody may schedule to June, and then June comes and they think, oh gosh, I'm just not ready. Then they can reschedule to July or August, whatever they want to, but there's no rescheduling fee. So we've taken that burden or pressure off them as well. Excuse me. The MBLEX was scheduled to have a fee increase April 1. The Federation has postponed that. Right now, there is no testing. We didn't want people to do, some kind of typical consumer activity and try and purchase or apply for the MBLEX ahead of time to beat the fee increase, only to find out that they couldn't test anyway. So we just thought we'll do the thinking for them and not encourage that. We're also not wanting to be the bank of FSMTB. So since there's no testing activity, we can't mandate this, but we've encouraged people not to even apply. They should just keep their money in their bank, and then when we open up, probably I'm thinking maybe by mid-May we'll open so that people can start being processed and move through the system to then be able to, Pearson VUE will open up their scheduling windows, and our candidates will have a very good chance of getting the appointment that they seek. So while you're all quarantining, we've been very, very busy and actually internally trying to capitalize on the dormant, if you will, situation here with testing, and we're upgrading the application process. So pretty soon, I would say in the month of May, when your candidates or your students come to apply for the MBLEX, it will look like a new screen for them. They'll be able to create a login to have their own personal Federation account, and then they can track their application. They'll be able to see the status of it. Did my school send in and verify my education? They can also use that portal to request that their results be sent to a particular state. It's a little bit tricky because we're trying to figure out how we're going to beta test this when we have no candidates. But nevertheless, while the volume is minimal to zero, we thought this would be a good opportunity to do that. The schools, you will also see hopefully what you think is a new and improved system. We right now have the Education Records Center. Kevin Sneddon on staff is amazing, and I know he's the best friend of most of you through working and getting your passwords ready for that. So we're switching that to be the Education Verification Center. So we're trying to always looking for ways we can take the burdens off the schools and the educators and the administrators. And so I think we've come up with a really good way to do this with the Education Verification Center. So, excuse me, I'm starting to get a tickle in my throat. So that's a very abridged flyover of what's going on at the Federation and some of the improvements we've got planned for you. I won't be presumptuous and assume what your questions are about the MBLEX in particular, but I'd be happy to entertain questions if you want to guide me that way. Do I need to look up this chat thing?
I think
I turned into a Zoom girl, and now I'm trying to figure out GoToMeeting.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have spent more time on Zoom than GoToMeeting. But for our attendees, this is the time where you can unmute yourself. And if you have a question or a comment, we did get one question that would be, and I just wanted to verify this with you, Debra. When would be a good time for recent graduates to apply for their MBLEX?
A good time for recent graduates to apply? Well, I mean, they can right now. There's nothing really preventing them from doing so. But to put it into context, if nothing will happen, like there's zero activity. It's not that, oh, somebody in California is taking it and I'm behind. Nobody anywhere in the United States or the world, for that matter, is taking the MBLEX right now. So I just, not that I'm their financial planner, but they really may as well keep their money until they're ready to apply, because once they do, we turn those applications around pretty swiftly. If the schools validate that individual X truly did go to school Y, I mean, we can turn that around in 24 to 48 hours. So it's not like if they wait till the 20th of May that they won't get approved or authorized until June. They'll, maybe 2 days later, they'll be authorized. So we will definitely announce when testing opens up, but right now the date Pearson is floating is moved into June, and of course that can make it kicked down the road as well. So.
And I have a question coming in from Leah Brandon. Her students were graduating in August. And when, in theory, do you think August graduates would be taking the test? Or when should they be taking the test is the question.
Well, the Federation does not have an eligibility requirement that somebody must have graduated in order to take the MBLEX. So technically, they could apply before they graduate. Now, we do have data, same answer comes back every year. The more education somebody has, the more hours of education, the better they perform on the MBLEX. So not that MBLEX gives grades for mastery like, an A or a B or a C performer, but what we don't want people to do is come into the pipeline too soon, because they're the ones who end up being the retakes. And sometimes even against the better judgment of their school faculty and mentors, the student thinks, they've got this and they do it anyway, and we all know the outcome. So on the one hand, it's better. I, Debra, personally, former educator, think it's better if they're in a precarious position and don't have a successful outcome, that they're still in school, so they have that safety net to come through and have a better experience the second time. But if the school's of the opinion they should graduate first, then they can apply on graduation day and theoretically be testing, apply on a Monday and be testing on Thursday or Friday. If they can get an appointment, that's going to be the caveat, because, the nurses, right now, my colleagues, sad to say, in the funeral examining board, they have now become essential people, and they're actually now testing because they're trying to get them into the workforce. But yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
A comment came in that says, thank you for the information, Debra, on the MBLEX. This is from Amanda. Her current students have been very stressed about this, and they're due to graduate at the end of May. And this has been a conversation with them during the online class time. And she's very happy that she can relay this to them on Tuesday morning. They have a total of 12 that'll be graduating in May. So, so kudos, thank you.
Thank you. And our staff are, we've been working from home, admittedly, but full time. And, I'm trying to manage our staff with the stressors on us, because we're on the phone all day. I'll be on the phones tomorrow myself, because the stories that we're hearing from candidates and the teachers as well are just, in the past it would be like a 3-minute call. Did you get my application? Did you get the transcript? And now we're getting the stories, which we love. But this compassion and empathy can also, take a toll at the end of the day, because the stories are just heartbreaking. So,
yeah. Questions coming in from, I believe it actually might be from Taffy. Has Pearson VUE discussed the possibility of opening additional testing sites or hiring more staff to help with the backlog? And this is a question coming from the ABMP.
Mm-hmm. So we use the Pearson Professional Centers, the PPC centers, and they are the high security centers. So for example, we capture the palm vein, the digital signature, they have to inspect their reading glasses, things like that. And we have to do that because of all the degree of fraud that goes on, sadly, with the massage, or imposters trying to enter the massage therapy profession. So it won't be a matter of adding more, it will be extending their hours. So right now anyway, under regular circumstances, the test centers in New York City were open 24/7 anyway. but North Dakota maybe 9 to 5 on, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday or something. So they'll extend the hours, but of course they have employment and HR concerns as well. They need to keep their employees safe with strangers basically coming through their door all hours of the day. So they're doing everything they can to get to maximum capacity. And yeah, like I said, it's a Hunger Games. You'd bet, you know, my Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde side comes out when I'm at those meetings. So we're definitely advocating for massage therapy.
And we have a question coming in from Joe, who has a school in Colorado Springs in Colorado, and says, so in your opinion, would it be getting their authorization to test soon might get them to the front of the line when Pearson VUE opens up? Does that sound right?
No, there's not really a front of the line, because I mean, as soon as they're authorized to test, of course, they can have the opportunity to schedule. But what's been happening is people who, even though we put out notices saying we recommend that you wait and don't apply yet, people who went ahead and did that anyway and were authorized, scheduled, and they've right now been canceled twice already by Pearson. So they're getting automatically canceled the more the date gets pushed out. So right now there's no advantage, I would say, of applying now. But my best guess, I know you in the introduction said about me having my crystal ball today, so that's the caveat. This is my best guess. I would say by mid-May, if people apply, even though testing may not open up until June, that will give them a 2-week lead. And you know, some of your students may truly not want to test until September, and I think that'll give them ample time to find the appointment of their choice.
Excellent, thank you. Looks like we've covered the questions that are in the chat. I have a question, and that is, I don't know the rules on this. As far as, say that a student were to live in a state that's on a border of another state,
Yeah.
does it matter which Pearson VUE center that they would test at?
No, it does not. And so even pre-pandemic days, I mean, if somebody who lived in North Carolina wanted to go to Hawaii and take the test there and then celebrate on the beach afterwards, they could. So there's no restriction on geography about where the candidate chooses to test. So they can move about the country, but you know, again, the caveat is post-pandemic travel.
Yes. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Debra, for the insights and the up-to-date information on what's cooking with the Federation. We really appreciate your time, especially on a Sunday. And I want to just acknowledge not only Debra and Dawn and Virginia for putting this together on a Sunday, but also for all the attendees taking a day out of your weekend, an hour out of your weekend to be with us. So really appreciate that. And at this time, we have a few announcements that are going to be made by Arlene. And I believe she's ready to hop on here and give us some resources that are brand new. I feel like Jeopardy music should be playing.
There we go. Okay,
Okay.
I double clicked my mic. Can I share my screen, please? Or do I need permission, or do I just do it?
You're good to go.
Okay, awesome.
You just jump in and do it. And so just real quick, Arlene is from our Teacher Resource Development Committee. She's been a real key member. And I also wanted to point out Rob Kelly from the committee is also here. So this is something we've been working on for a while. So
Yes.
If you go down to the bottom, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay. Yeah, but now I got to find the resource. There it is. There we go. I'll put in the chat the link to this. So can you guys see that, my presentation? So yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about me in a second. This presentation is in a web-based presentation software, so the links are direct. So if you want to, I already put it in the chat once, but I'll put it in the chat again, and it's in the notes I shared. And so you'll be able to keep this for later. So you'll have access to it and things will be updated and stuff as we go. So yes, I was on the asked to be on the Teachers Resource Development Committee. My name is Arlene Hessler. I graduated from the Florida School of Massage in 1996. Then I decided to get a Master's of Library and Information Science. After Hurricane Irma, I left the Keys and got a job as a librarian at the University of St. Augustine for Health Sciences, but I didn't like it, so I came home. I liked the job. I loved working with faculty and students, but I missed the Keys, and there were some other things about the job that didn't work for me. So here I am at the Monroe County Public Library and working from home, yay. And I think it was the spring of 2018 maybe that Pete invited me to be on this committee. And that's my email and my phone number if you want to get a hold of me for any reason. So the former resources page, a lot of people put a lot of work into it, but there was some issues with it. So it was like, you know, why did we want to rebuild it? And then we had to plan for how we're going to rebuild it. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we're going now. I'm going to try to keep it really brief, so I'm sorry I'm rushing. And then we really want your input too as educators. So why rebuild it? There were issues with being able to edit it. We also wanted something that was interactive, that people can talk back and forth and share and communicate about the resource, something more accessible and something more current, because it wasn't really updatable, the format that it was in. So those were the reasons why. So we started planning a while ago. The planning started with evaluating the current content. There's a link here to see that spreadsheet. It kind of lists everything that we have so far, and it's updated and changed and as we were going along. And then we wanted to plan how we were going to organize it. We wanted to decide, how we were going to, what headings to use, what tags and search terms. And we want to align that with the core competencies, which you can get a copy of here on the AFMT, the Alliance webpage. Every time I go to say the initials, I'm like, why am I doing that? So you can get that there. And then Virginia came up with a really simple plan design. So that's how I'm going to try to work it out. So basically faculty development, course management, course material, and then just everything. And then there'll be different headings under that. And so that's kind of the plan to lay it out. Where we're going next is the struggle that I've had so far is locating and implementing technology to give you guys a really good guide that would to resources that would be all those things: interactive, current, and updatable and searchable. And my dream is these LibGuides. They're something that libraries use in universities. They're really great for sharing a lot of information and organizing it. But unfortunately we can't get that. So the LibGuides here, especially this one, oops, I didn't mean to go forward. Sorry. I want to go back now. There we go. Okay. So the LibGuides here are an example of stuff that may have tools for you to use now. Okay, so those are resources that you can use right now, hopefully. What I ended up with hoping to do was something like we do on our library WordPress site for our events. And so these categories are all ways that you can search our events. But the event plugin didn't work, and I couldn't quite figure out WordPress enough to make it happen. Where we are now is that Naomi has found, she's the staff for the Alliance, and she's found a WordPress plugin. They've got it set up. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to integrate a Slack channel with that, which is going to allow for all of that communication that we'd like to have. And then I have also set up a Facebook group for more immediate stuff. So we're working on that right now as we speak. The WordPress plugin is starting to get set up. And it's going to look like right now there's some stuff in there. I'm not sure if it's direct out of our spreadsheet or not. And as soon as we can get the tags or the search terms assigned, that'll be over here in the left-hand column. And like I said, this is a work in progress. We're just getting started with it. So that's what it will look like once it's done. The Slack channel is something that we're working on too. It's the same kind of thing, only it's for communication and sharing. So you can assign channels to each different topic, and then people can share back and forth. So once that's integrated with the website, we'll be inviting people to join that. And then the Facebook group is current now, but I haven't really uploaded any resources yet. But what I liked about it was that we can also assign tags. So we can tag our topics and then you search by that. So online course management systems, I haven't put anything there, but you can search the Facebook post in this group by that. So that's what makes it different than the Alliance Facebook page. So it's going to be about sharing resources for education. And so that is that.
So can
And
I jump in
then,
here, Arlene, just real quickly, because we're right at 4 o'clock right now.
okay,
And if we can just, one of the things that we did really want to highlight today was the existence of a Facebook page. So if
yeah,
you're a member of the Alliance, people should have gotten an email to join this page. And that will be a place where you can share right now, where you can share resources. So right now we pretty much are hearing from people that you don't have a lack of material to use online right now, so much as you're trying to shift what you're doing to move it into the online format. So that is definitely live. Please join that. And then kind of in segueing away from that, one of the things that's very essential for us for these Sunday sessions is to hear from you all in terms of what you would like to do. You know, you're here for a reason. We've had some people come every Sunday. We've had some people drop in and out. So we would love to hear from you on topics that you would like to cover in these sessions. And so you can probably even ask those questions on the Alliance's Facebook page, on the new one, joining that one, or get in touch with us directly. So I'm sorry to jump in and jump over that, except to say that that's the one thing we have up and running. And we hope, Arlene, correct me if I'm wrong, we hope that the Slack channel and the other components will be live within the next week. Is that correct?
yeah, I have to talk to Naomi. Today's her day off. So, you know, tomorrow I'll talk to Naomi and I don't have access to the WordPress yet. So because they're setting it up, and then I'll get access and instruction on how to work with it from the back ends. But yeah, the Facebook page is kind of ready to start putting stuff in there. But once people are members, they can also be sharing and asking questions. And I do want to keep the group specific to learning and teaching and education. That's kind of my goal. I think it's kind of the committee's goal too. And you know, the Alliance Facebook page is for the Alliance, right, in general. But yeah, if you're still here and you want to see the rest of this, it's up right now on the next slide. And I had a booklet for something you could share with your students. It's just a little tool, and the link here is the highlighted in blue. The next thing, I went to check out the American College of Research and Alliance, I can't remember. It's College and Research Libraries. They did a virtual poster session, and these offer some useful tools too. The Scottsdale Community College, this is a LibGuide. So if you go to that link, you'll be able to see that resource. I'm not going to take you there since I'm run out of time. This is a resource in Canva, a free online graphic design type thing from the Florida Institute of Technology. They've got some resources for talking about pre and post assessment. And this was from another college, and it was about engaging students through multiple formats. So back channeling, things like that for online courses to keep them engaged. I know that was a question. And this was just another poster that might have some interesting stuff. So to reiterate, what we're asking is, you know, what do you think? What do you need? Your input really matters, and the options, the things that we're creating right now will allow for that input, and we want to see people communicating and sharing, and yeah, let us know how we can help. So that's it for me. That's all I have. Thanks for taking the time. Let me get out of here and unshare my screen, or somebody else can unshare me. There we go.
Let's see, I don't think I can unshare you, but yes, so thank you
got
very
it.
much, Arlene. So then just really quickly, because Sandy Fritz did comment, and I know people are dropping off because we're over the 4 o'clock hour here. But Sandy wrote in the chat, if you haven't seen it, people are wanting to be able to interact with others, to brainstorm, as well as to have information. So again, we're looking for topics. If there are topics, then we can go, invite people to come and bring those together. So if you have ideas for topics, please reach out to us, because we're here to serve you. So, and again, the time in between, certainly the asynchronous discussions are available on the other, in the other formats. So please reach out for topics for the future. A couple of things that we come up with. Let me just read through my list very, very quickly as we're speeding through this. One is online admissions. So if anybody doesn't have online admissions, we have somebody willing to speak on that. If you're looking for specific teaching activities, preparing for reopening, that's showing up a lot in some of the online talk. How do you prepare for reopening? Gloves or no gloves? Masks, no masks? How do you clean? Strategies for graduating students. Someone had asked a little up the chat here, are there any massage schools that have no hands-on? And I don't think that exists anywhere in the US or Canada, at least I've not heard of it. But if you have students who are ready to graduate and couldn't graduate, how long does that go on until you can get them back in the classroom to do clinical work? So, those are some of the ideas. And then the other questions about CE requirements. A lot of our CE providers are trying to move all of their courses online for now. How's that going to affect our industry? So those are just some of the possible topics. And if any of those resonate or you want to speak on any of those, feel free to get in touch with me. I'm not hard to find, certainly, or Jody. And hopefully we'll have something planned and see you all here next Sunday. So I'm just going to give that's actually not my email address, Jody, but that's okay. So it's VS Cowan at Ingenious Wellness, or find me on Facebook and you can see pictures of my dog. But I do want to thank our presenters today, Dawn Hogue and Debra Persinger, and then Jody Scholes for being our Mistress of Ceremonies. And hopefully you've had some valuable things to take away. Again, thanks for spending time on your Sunday. Hopefully it's your day off and you can wander off to the rest of your day. So thanks again and be well.